This is the book of Isaiah 54, verse 16. It says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy." First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. I would like to give double honors unto the apostles, excuse me, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and also teaching this truth. And as always, much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say shalom. I'm the brother Tazamon from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back today with another lesson, and I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And I want to do a lesson on this article that you see here on the screen. This is from naturalnews.com, and the title reads, it says, "Pure Insanity. Trump says Washington prepared for potential nuclear war with Russia." Let's read that again. Trump says Washington prepared for potential nuclear war with Russia. All right. And we understand and we know, according to prophecy, all right, that the end all be all is going to be that missiles will fly from Russia, as well as various different other places, from China, from Pakistan, India, you know, as well as particular NATO and EU nations against America, you know, and against Israel. All right, now, you know, the things that, you know, Donald Trump is saying, and what Medvedev, I think it's Medvedev, excuse me, is saying, and I kid you not, man, my throat was not doing this until I turned until I was about to start doing a lesson, you know. But the things that Donald Trump is saying, that Medvedev is saying, ultimately is coming from Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. As the scripture says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right, it also says that, get this real quick, Proverbs 16:1. All right, Proverbs 16:1. It says, the preparations of the heart in man, which that word heart in the Hebrew is la'ab, which is your mind. All right, so the preparations of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from Yahweh. You see that? So the preparation of the heart, how you prepare to plan out the things that you're going to do and the things that you may say, and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. So the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, is putting the spirit upon Donald Trump and Medvedev to speak about nuclear talks in regards to pretty much getting them prepared for war. Now we know that, you know, the mandatory implementation of the MOTB, the mark of the beast, has to be fully implemented before total destruction comes. You see, but this is Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai using, you know, these leaders to stir up the pot, for lack of better words. All right, so down here it says, U.S. President Donald Trump declared Washington's readiness for nuclear war with Russia and deployed 2 nuclear submarines near Russian territory, calling it a precautionary measure. All right, now, when you get the prophecy in Revelation 20, you know, we've gone through these scriptures time and time again. You know, we've gone over these scriptures time and time again, I'd rather say. But, you know, we're living at the time where this is getting ready to happen soon. All right, and the scripture says that, we're not to be settled on our leaves when it comes down to these things. Okay? This is Revelation 20:7. It says, "And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison." And this is whenever Esau Edom was, he pretty much got a foothold in the world again, you know, through his Renaissance art, you know, his so-called his medicine, music, you know, and more so, you know, Christopher Columbus even coming here to the Americas and establishing, you know, pretty much Spain, okay, as a foothold here on the West, which ultimately leads to what we see today, with America being Babylon the Great. You know, America taking down the French, the Spanish, and the British. All right, that little horn, I'd rather say, taking down the French, the Spanish, and the British, which that little horn is America, which is what you see today, right? So it says, and when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the 4 quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, which is Russia, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. You see, now they're being galvanized and gathered together ultimately for the grand showdown, the grand finale. All right, Revelation 18 It's pretty much the grand finale of America. And we believe that Donald J. Trump, all right, aka Nero Caesar, all right, is the man that's going to usher in World War III. We wholeheartedly believe that in faith. Okay, it says former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev invoked Russia's perimeter system, Dead Hand, a Soviet-era automated nuclear retaliation mechanism, warning of its dangers after Trump mocked Russia's economy. Now, what is Dead Hand? It tells you it's a Soviet-era automated nuclear retaliation system. All right, so let's just take a look at Dead Hand here. All right, and you've seen. So like I hit the images by mistake. All right, so you see here it says Dead Hand, also known as perimeter, is a Cold War era automated. Let me read it again. Dead Hand, also known as perimeter, is a Cold War era automatic or semi-automatic nuclear weapons control system that was constructed by the Soviet Union. The system remains in use in the post-Soviet Russian Federation. All right, let's go here. Let's go to Wikipedia. See if we can get a little bit more. Let's see. Like I want to get like a let's see here. Right. So perimeter appeared as an alternative system for all units alarmed with nuclear weapons. Mind you, we opened up with Isaiah 54 verse 16, how the smith, the Lord's the one that creates the smith that blows the coals in the fire. So the Lord is the one that, put it in the minds of these particular scientists, to create, the atomic bomb and the nuclear bomb, to create, to split an atom, to do nuclear fission, to create systems as we see here. It was meant to be a backup. It was meant to be a backup communication system in case the key components of Kazbek command system and the link to the strategic missile forces are destroyed by a decapitation first strike. To ensure its functionality, the system was designed to be mostly automatic, with the ability to decide an adequate retaliatory strike on its own with no or minimal human involvement in the event of an all-out attack. So pretty much what this is saying is that it's a system to pretty much automatically shoot off ICBMs at an enemy if an all-out attack happens. It'll pretty much automatically start shooting off missiles. All right, it says, according to Vladimir Yarnich, a developer of the system, this system also served as a buffer against hasty decisions based on unverified information by the country's leadership. Upon receiving warnings about a nuclear attack, the leader could activate the system and then wait for further developments, assured by the fact that even the destruction of all key personnel with the authority to command the response to the attack could still not prevent a retaliatory strike. Thus, use of the system would theoretically reduce the likelihood of a false alarm triggered retaliation. So it's pretty much, it's kind of like, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like artificial intelligence, but it's pretty much an automated system. You see, and this will be used, okay? Because remember, the Spirit of the Lord is going to be in those missiles, man. The Lord is going to be the one that's going to guide these missiles to where they need to land. You see, it says the confrontation began when Trump demanded a Ukraine ceasefire within 10 days, which Russia ignored, prompting Medvedev's social media retaliation and Trump's submarine deployment. So they was going back and forth, and Medvedev made the point about the missiles, and then that's when Donald J. Trump sent forth his nuclear submarines out as a quote-unquote precautionary measure. It says analysts compare the exchange to past Soviet-U.S. nuclear brinkmanship, and does not the scripture say that that the Lord put hooks in his Magog's jaws? All right. This is Ezekiel 38, verse. We'll start at verse 1. It says, "And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, As son of the the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and to prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks unto thy jaws, which is turning Russia back into that post-Soviet Union era, and will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. And this is going into Russia and Russia's allies, which Iran's an ally of Russia. China's an ally of Russia. Brazil is an ally of Russia. India is an ally of Russia. South Africa is an ally of Russia. Okay? And you see here, Persia. You see Persia's Iran, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. All of them with shield and helmet. It says Gomer and all his bands. The house of Torgama of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Now, who was Gomer and who was Torgama? Let's get Gomer real quick here. All right, Gomer is a Gomer. All right, it says the eldest son of Japhet and grandson of Noah, the progenitor of the early Cimmerians, and other branches of the Celtic family. Now, who are the Cimmerians? Let's take a look at the map. So you have up here, you have the Cimmerians, which in this region here, this would be like more so. I mean, you could really say Russia still, because you see you have Scythians here at the top right, which Elder Apostle Tahar, did a lesson on this a while ago, that the ancient Scythians were really Jake, so we were really the first ones in that area. But of course, you got a lot of Jake that look like Russians over there too, but of course you got Esau up there. All right. Let's say Cimmerians today. It's like where Romania is. But it's really just a part of Russia. Okay? See that? So it's really still just a part of Russia. All right? It's just a portion, but technically it's still Russia still. And then Torgama is Thagarma. Or you got Thagarma, right? Thou wilt break her. It says son of Gomer, grandson of Japhet, and grandson of Noah. Territory settled by the descendants of Torgama. You see Armenia. And Armenia, all right, is today like Turkey. You see? But it's to the east of Turkey. But it also mentions Turkey getting involved as well. Let's get that real quick. The mountains of Ararat. It's in Jeremiah Ararat. Yep, Jeremiah 51 and 27. All right. Let's start at verse 25. It says, Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, which this destroying mountain here is talking about America, saith Yahweh, which destroyeth all the earth. All right, because America is the hammer of the earth. You see? And everything, and that's why America's, wine, its philosophies and so-called democracy that's being spread through Babylon the Great, being the golden cup in the Lord's hand. All right, it's destroying the earth. You see? It says, And I will stretch out mine hand upon thee and roll thee down from the rocks and will make thee a burnt mountain. You see that? Because right now America holds pretty much the king of the hill. But America is going to become a burnt mountain via what? ICBM thermonuclear missiles. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, which a stone for a corner is a foundation stone, like a cornerstone. Meaning that what? That this place is never going to be built back up again. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations. You see that? But thou shalt be desolate forever, saith Yahweh. You see, and this is how you know that America is that lake of fire. And this place is going to be uninhabitable. Okay, verse 27. Set ye up a standard in the land blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, which is Turkey, Mini, and Ashkenaz. All right, Ashkenaz is Germany. It says appoint a captain against her. And who's that captain? Russia. Cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, Russia, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. See that? So this is biblical prophecy. This is biblical prophecy, what we see here taking place. So it says compare the exchange to past Soviet-U.S. nuclear brinkmanship, noting that automated systems like perimeter, it says that's a weird way of saying it, reduce hesitation, right, as we read on Wikipedia, but increase risk of catastrophic miscalculation. And once again, it's going to be Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to cause these missiles to be shot off, and they're not going to miss their mark. There's not going to be any kind of bargaining that Donald Trump can do, or whoever the president is, which we believe is going to be Donald Trump, but you know, the king of Babylon is going to be able to do. They're not going to be able to bargain out of this destruction. Remember, the scripture says that the king of Babylon's hands waxed feeble when he heard the report. Matter of fact, let's get that. All right, the king of Babylon's hands waxed feeble when he heard the report. Jeremiah 50 and 43. Verse 42, it says, actually verse 41, it says, behold, a people shall come from the north, which is Russia, and a great nation, and many kings shall be raised up from the coast of the earth. It's like that dream that individual had, where he said that he had a dream that he seen America, and he seen all these various different, nations, and they had like warships surrounding America. America's going to be completely isolated in World War III. The only ally that America's going to have is going to be Israel, but Israel's going to be isolated and destroyed in World War III. Okay, America's not going to have any allies. They shall hold the bow and the lance, which is the modern day missile. They are cruel and will not show mercy. And it says the same thing in Isaiah 13. Okay, their voice shall roar like the sea, and they shall ride upon horses, every one put in array, like a man to the battle against thee, O daughter of Babylon. You see, and that's talking about the missiles, man. The daughter of Babylon is America. The king of Babylon hath heard the report of them, hath heard the report of what the missiles being shot off, and his hands wax feeble. Waxing feeble means to grow weak. Anguish took hold of him, and pangs as of a woman in travail. See that? Because there's not going to be any kind of deal that can be made that can stop the destruction that's going to be on the way. Not going to be a deal that can be made that's going to stop the destruction on the way. All right, so going back to here, it says both leaders' aggressive rhetoric, amplified by social media, heightens tensions, with experts warning that erratic declarations undermine deterrence credibility and escalate real-world risk, because this real-world risk is going to be World War III, which is going to be the end of Esau's world and the beginning of Jacob's world. As it says in 2 Ezra 6 and 9, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. This is what Medvedev said. He said, let him remember how dangerous the fabled dead hand can be. The Russian official wrote Thursday in response to Trump's mockery of the Russian and Indian economies as dead. The dead hand system pertains to the autonomous perimeter doomsday system from the Soviet era, designed to launch nuclear strikes automatically if the country's leadership is decimated. So it's automatically going to start shooting missiles if the leadership is gone. And let's say something happens to Putin, because at the end of the day, the leader has to have he has the codes. Sometimes the codes can be actual numbers, or sometimes the codes can be biometric fingerprints. You see, but if the leader's dead, then the dead hand system will automatically just go off. U.S. analysts believe that the system, rumored to remain operational in Russia, exists as a final deterrent against a decapitating first strike. See that? Russia's dead hand. This is September 6, 2022. Russia's dead hand nuclear defense system can autonomously send out hundreds of nukes, even after the country endures a nuclear first strike. See that? Just taking a look here. So yeah, man. You know, this really happened, like, I want to say, like, last Friday. You know, but things through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai are heating up. And our eyes got to stay glued in and locked in. You know, we got to stay locked in the spirit first and foremost. But we got to, you know, we got to make sure we're paying attention, you know, to particular World War III news. All right. So I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Once again, I want to give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders, the great millstone that taught us his truth, and that's what teaching his truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, Lord willing, I say shalom.